Hi, I'm Fox Evans, and this is episode 4 of Oh My God, I Really Love Books. It's been a few weeks since my last video update when I told you that I would update you again whenever I finished reading The Well of Ascension, and, well, I lied. It was super late in the middle of the night whenever I finished The Well of Ascension, and I already had my copy of The Hero of Ages. I couldn't wait anymore, so I went ahead and jumped into the next book, finished reading it in a few days, and knocked the number of books in my speedrun down from 15 to 12. I was going to go ahead and jump into the FoxxDenn Trilogy so that I could get the graphic novels knocked out of the way and get back into the books. However, I'm super invested in the Mistborn universe now, and I've got to read the next one, so I'm going to be going into the Alloy of Law next. Now, based on the cover of this book, I'm assuming it takes place super far in the future because of the guns that are in their hands. However, there is a possibility that it takes place in the past because they mention in The Hero of Ages that gunpowder existed in this world before the Lord Ruler was the Emperor. So, either way, I'm super excited to see what happens, and I can't wait to see more allomancy and ferrochemy. I'm going to jump into a quick synopsis and review of the last two books that I read, The Well of Ascension and The Hero of Ages, here in a couple of seconds. So if you don't want any spoilers for that, you should go ahead and stop watching the video now. Just know that The Hero of Ages, I give it a 3 out of 5 Brandons, and The Well of Ascension, I give it a 4 out of 5 Brandons. But overall, the series is really great, and I recommend reading it. It's got a really cool world, a really good overarching plot, and it's got awesome characters that you really want to succeed. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out all the cool things that FoxxDenn Productions is doing. All that stuff's going to be linked down in the description below. Also, my band Fickle Ferret just released its first EP, so check that out and let me know what you think down in the comments. The Mistborn Trilogy is ultimately a story of how a world is returned back to balance. In the first book, which I go over in more detail in my previous video, is an introduction to the main characters and establishes a good basis for what's possible in the world. There's a lot of really tiny threads that Brandon begins to weave at the beginning of this story that don't come to complete fruition until the end of the trilogy, which is something that he's really good at. The Well of Ascension, which is the second book in this series, is basically the story of how a god named Ruin is freed from his prison that was created by another god named Preservation. Throughout the book, the city of Luthadel is being besieged by 3 armies, and Elend is the king of Luthadel. Though Elend is a good king, he's eventually ousted due to politics, and under the rule of a man named Lord Penrod, it looks like the city is going to fall. So Vin and Elend are pretty much ushered out of the city by some of their friends to protect them. While all of this is going on, Vin, who is a Mistborn and is able to use all the powers of allomancy, has been moving throughout the city at night protecting Elend. She has begun sparring with a man named Zane, who is the Mistborn of one of her enemies, and she has begun to hear a really loud thumping in her head, and it just continues to get louder and louder and louder. Zane convinces her to kill a whole bunch of people and is trying to get her to run away with him, and is honestly a really bad influence on her life. She ends up killing Zane, and she also convinces herself that she is the Hero of Ages, a person who is prophesied to save the world, and that this thumping that she hears in her head is the Well of Ascension calling out to her. So once Vin and Elend leave the city to protect themselves, the thumping inside of Vin's head begins to get really, really quiet, and she starts to realize that where she needs to be is Luthadel. So they turn around and they rush back. It takes Elend a little longer for her to get there than it does for Vin because she has allomancy. So Vin shows up in the middle of a battle, starts killing a bunch of Koloss, which are these monsters that are created out of humans, and she finds the Well of Ascension, goes down into it, takes his power, and releases it instead of holding on to it and using it, which actually is what releases the god Ruin. After she does this, Elend shows up, and she gets married to him because she almost died. So, yeah, that's the second book. Oh, and it's also important to know that in the Well of Ascension, the mists that have been previously contained to the nighttime in this world have started coming out in the day, and they've actually begun to kill people, which before they were pretty harmless. And also, the ash that falls from the sky in this world has begun to fall at a heavier rate, and ash has begun to pile up everywhere, a lot more than before, like covering the landscape in just mounds and mounds of ash. Oh, and also, Elend almost dies, but he ends up surviving because he becomes Mistborn by eating a piece of metal that they found at the Well of Ascension. Book 3, The Hero of Ages, is where this story really begins to come to a point and where all of these tiny threads start to come together. It's revealed in this book that Ruin can alter the text of anything that's not written in metal and can hear conversations between anyone at any time. This really gives Ruin a lot of power over people and over what they think and what they believe, and Ruin is also able to influence people by piercing their body with metals, which he does frequently throughout the book, even to Vin. Ruin's ultimate goal is to find the Lord Ruler's atium stash, which he ends up discovering is hidden underground with the Society of the Kandra. Atium, it turns out, is actually the source of Ruin's power, and he needs it if he's going to kill Preservation without also killing himself. It's also revealed in this book that Preservation gave up his mind in order to imprison Ruin, but his body and his power still exist in the world. Vin ends up inheriting this power, but not until Marsh, a Steel Inquisitor who is controlled by Ruin due to all the spikes that are shoved through his body, rips a spike out of Vin's ear in a last attempt at having free will. Once Vin inherits this power by absorbing all of the mist that lay over the land, she becomes a god like Ruin because it turns out that the mist was actually Preservation's power incarnated. So Elend also finds the stash of atium and is made aware of how important it is to Ruin. He also figures out that the mist, which have been killing people since the previous book, is only doing so to snap people and to turn them into Allomancers. With this knowledge, he realizes that he is in possession of a small army of Allomancers that are able to burn atium as an allomantic metal. Whenever you burn atium, it allows you to see into the future because it's essentially the power of a god, and it's the most powerful allomantic metal. He takes this army and in a last battle burns all of the atium that is in the Lord Ruler's stash. This gives Vin an opportunity to kill Ruin, but it also kills herself. Elend also dies in this battle. After both Vin and Ruin die, Sazed goes out into the battlefield and takes on the power of both Ruin and Preservation, becoming a new god. Doing this, he's able to fix the world. He's able to clear the sky of ash. He's able to make the sun yellow. He's able to bring back grass and bring back flowers. And he brings balance back into the world. Now, obviously, that was the Super Spark Notes version of these books. There's a lot of things that happened that I didn't really get to go over, and a lot of detail that I don't have time to go over because Brandon Sanderson writes with so many tiny threads, it's ridiculous. There's a lot of things that I saw coming from a mile away, like Vin's earring being what makes her be controlled by Ruin, but all in all, it was a great series, and I really would highly recommend it. I'll be going over these books in more detail, chapter by chapter, at some point in the future, but right now I'm really focused on my speed run. I took a little break after reading The Hero of Ages, and I'm getting ready to start The Alloy of Law as soon as I finish making this video. So keep an eye out for the video, and go ahead and make sure you like and subscribe. And until then, well, I've got a lot of reading to do.